Hi everybody, welcome to class today. We are going to be talking about cell types. This is part 3. We're still covering the same standard that we have been covering all week, and today we are going to identify characteristics of living things, and we're going to determine whether or not unicellular organisms are alive. You are going to need some materials today, so you might need to pause this video and go find your workbook. Yes, remember the one I gave you before we left school. It looks like this. You need your notebook and you need a pencil. You're going to have to write something down in your notebook today, so please go find it. The good news is you can pause the video. You can go find it. You can take all day, I guess, to sharpen your pencil, and it's not going to affect anybody but you. So don't do that. Don't take all day. Go find your pencil. Go find your workbook. Come right back and get back to your work. But we are going to keep going. You just pause the video. So let's review. Today we learned about multicellular and unicellular organisms. You should have discovered that some of the organisms you looked at, such as the amoeba, the iglena, and the paramecium, are unicellular. They are only made of one cell. So today I would like for you to think about whether or not you think these unicellular organisms are alive. Are they living? What are some differences between the unicellular organisms and your cheek and skin cells? Your cheek and skin cells were part of a larger organism. That would be you, right? We just took a few of your cells. It didn't hurt you. It didn't harm you. And then there were many of them together when we looked on the slides. We saw lots of the cells. And within your body, there are trillions of cells. With the unicellular organisms like the amoeba, the whole organism is only one cell, which is pretty cool. So you saw it, right, in your little microscope yesterday. And today we're going to take a look at the amoeba in some videos. Unfortunately, we don't get to look at them in person. Mr. Crawford and I did order some amoebas, but we don't get to look at them in person, so we'll have to cancel that order. All right, so the cheek cells, remember our pictures of the cheek cells, and here's the amoeba. So we need to decide if the amoeba is alive, and we know that we are alive, right? And the cheek cells came from us, but are the amoeba that we are going to find in pond water, are those alive? In order to decide if the amoeba is alive, we need to agree on the characteristics that all living things have in common. Scientists have a set of characteristics to decide if something is living. It might be obvious sometimes, like if you know a rock is not alive and your cat is alive, right? But what's the difference? What makes your cat alive and the rock not alive? Let's watch a video of the amoeba, and you can start to think about if you think it is alive or not alive. While you watch the video, I want you to think about these questions. What does it mean to be alive? And how would you decide if something is living? All right, here we go. I'm going to just pause the sound. We don't really need his sound. So single cell organisms are classified as protists. So this is the amoeba, and it is surrounding the paramecium. And this is how the amoeba is actually eating the paramecium. The paramecium and the amoeba are both single-cell eukaryotic organisms that are classified as protists. Amoeba are single-celled organisms that are shaped like a blob. They are found in freshwater, ponds, streams, lakes, and even in saltwater. There is an amoeba, and then the parameciums, you can see them moving really fast. They move using a pseudopod. Basically, they just ooze along. That's your amoeba. So you can see these are the pseudopods, right? It's kind of like their feet moving them forward. It means a false foot, and it just kind of oozes along as it goes. And here's another one. So paramecium, they move by using tiny hair-like structures called cilia. And yesterday you saw those in the microscope, I hope, when you did your activity. So there is a paramecium moving all over the place. See him? He's pretty quick. There's another one. A paramecium has two vacuoles that they use to store food and expel water out. Look real careful, you can kind of start to see those little hairs there. All right, and then this next one, we're going to see reproduction. So the amoeba is actually going to start as one, and it's going to end as two. So we're watching this one right up here. So it's kind of slow, but just kind of watch it as it is starting to split. See? There it goes. And there's that final breaking apart. So it has become two separate amoebas now. All right. So first of all, I want you to realize that just like you, the amoeba is a cell, only you are made of trillions of cells, and it is made of one cell. So one characteristic of living things is that they are made of cells. So I think in your microscope activity on the first day, you looked at rock and silt, and you were able to see that it was not made of cells. Rock and silt is not living, so it's not made of cells. So we saw the amoeba eating the paramecium in the video. Wasn't that cool how that little globby thing just kind of went around its food and absorbed it almost? The amoeba moves to its food and then surrounds it. If the amoeba eats, it must also be using the energy it receives from the other organisms, just like in the food web that we talked about before, right? One organism gives energy to another. It also must have a way of getting rid of waste, and the ability to perform all these functions is known as metabolism. So another characteristic of living things is metabolism. They have to be able to get that energy and get it in their body and then get rid of it. Another thing we observed was the amoeba reproducing. It divided from one amoeba into two amoebas. So reproduction is also going to be a characteristic of all living things. Amoebas also respond to stimuli. You saw them moving around and reacting to the other organisms. So they were responding to stimuli, which is also another characteristic of living organisms. And finally, did you notice that not all the amoebas were the same size? That must mean that amoebas grow, right? So the ability to grow is also a characteristic of living organisms. So this is where you need that pencil and paper. You are going to write down your scientific principle number 1. So remember, in the very front of your workbook, you have the scientific principle page. So I would like for you can pause this video. You have as much time as needed again. Our first scientific principle is just about the characteristics of living things. So it says all living things share characteristics including growth, reproduction, metabolism, response to stimuli, and being made of cells, either single cells or more than one cell. So I also gave you a definition down there. You probably want to add that somewhere in your workbook, maybe on one of those back blank pages that you have. So metabolism is the chemical processes that occur within an organism to maintain life, such as breaking down food for energy, using energy and building materials to construct the components of cells, and getting rid of waste products. So go ahead and write those down. You can pause the video for as long as you need. Write those down. and then come back to finish it up. So 7th graders, please remember open office hours are from 10 a.m. to 10:40 every day. So if you need some extra help, please come see me in open office hours. Your next task. So when this video ends, it will show you your score because you're doing this in Edpuzzle. Then you may close the Edpuzzle video window. It's going to send me your score automatically. And that's it for today. You completed your assignment while watching the video. So how do you guys like using Edpuzzle to watch your video? Let me know. It's going to be the last question here, and then you're going to be done. All right, have a great day.